I have the TopHat textbook pulled up on the left. And what I have on the right are my notes. And these are notes to help you while you're reading the text, but also places to pause and we'll come back to in class. So I tried to kind of merge the two ideas, and we'll talk about things more in depth in class. So what I recommend is printing off this page, and definitely email me if printing is a problem. Or if you have access to digital devices, you can do this digitally. But what I recommend is that you kind of use the right side as a guide while you're reading through everything so that you kind of have some guided notes to take. And if you go through this a time or two and you just decide you prefer just to take your own notes on like a separate piece of paper, that's fine also. There will be a few times when we are going to be covering a good bit of information in class where I might require this and have you put it in the Dropbox. But in general, as long as you're taking some notes before class and you're previewing the information, you don't have to understand it. But I want you to have seen it and to have processed some of it. So let's begin. So the first cue is chemistry is the study of. So here's what is chemistry. So it's somewhere in here. If we scroll up, look at this paragraph right here. It's the study of energy and matter, properties, and changes. You could say mechanisms and their changes, it's fine. You say their changes if you wanted. And that's kind of it for that section. You can add extra notes, that's fine. This just is a nod to the graphic right there. It's central to several fields. Which ones do you recognize? So you probably recognize all of them, but if there's some that you're planning on going into, you might circle that just as a reminder that chemistry is going to have information that are some of the baseline layers of some of the future fields. I know a decent number of people will come to chemistry and they're heading towards biology. So that's important too. Then you'll see the next one, matter is. And we kind of look. Matter is substance has mass and takes up space. Fundamental building blocks, look, they're right there after there, are atoms. And there's a little note, if you wanted to add in that they can't be broken down, you could. You can add some extra stuff in there. There's supposed to be space for that. And then atoms are, here's point 1, small. You say very small. You could put the example in. Made from which subatomic particles? Oh, there's the 3. So neutrons, protons, electrons. They have a unique number of, let's see, the number of protons determines the identity of the element. Oh, well, okay, identity. So it must be that this is protons. And then look, we've got this video here that's embedded. You can see the play. And this one takes a second before the video plays.
States of matter. Matter. Matter is anything that has mass and occupies space.
This has neat graphics.
States of matter. Matter exists in 3 states. 1. Solid state. 2. Liquid state. 3. Gaseous state.
So you might take notes like that.
1. They have definite shape and definite volume.
See how when you poured out, you see that?
2. Ordered arrangement of particles. Distances between the particles are very small and fixed.
So that just gives you an idea of what you might be listening to. These videos, sometimes the voices you might think, oh, this doesn't sound interesting, but they are chosen because they either have good graphics or they state information really well or they give good examples. Let's scroll on. Now notice this section right here. This is like this background color. So save this. Don't work on this now. We're going to talk about this in class. If you want to work on it now, you can, but I'm just trying to save you a little bit of time. If you want to think it through and come to class with it already filled in, that's fine too. All right, composition of matter. Oh, okay, so we're already down here. That doesn't mean that this information isn't important. Notice this is a review of solid, liquids, and gases. You probably should read it. And then right here, this is a common illustration. It's called particle level diagram. So these are important. Also, before you get to this, you need to have answered this question, right? So pair each straight with the appropriate physical state. Solids, and you look at this A picture on the left, they're going to be atoms that are closely packed together. You pick it and it'll put it in. Composition of matter. So then you'd watch this video.
RobinReaction.com. In this video, I'll be going over the differences between homogeneous mixtures and heterogeneous mixtures. And so first we're going to go over some definitions and look at this chart, and then I'll do some practice problems. So starting off, even though this video is just going to focus in on the right-hand side, which is mixtures, let's go ahead and just do a quick review. Alright, so let's start off with all matter, which is basically everything you're going to see in your life except for energy, which is things like light and heat. But for the most part, when you think to yourself, hey, I'm really seeing something right now, you're looking at matter. And so inside matter, we have two groups: pure substances, which are either elements, like on the periodic table, or compounds, which is mostly saying molecules. Like so for instance, all of these are H2O molecules. But basically, pure substances are saying you have one thing. All right, so now let's go ahead and define mixtures. And so
you can go ahead and keep watching that one. So you could redraw this, or you could put some little notes in, but that's where you would summarize the video. Now, pure substances, you want to pick can or cannot be broken down into smaller components. And what do they contain? And then compounds can or cannot be broken into smaller components. What do they contain? So that's information you're going to be finding in this video or just right below. Pure substances cannot be divided further into compounds and elements. So you'll find that information further down in the different paragraphs. And compounds, mixtures is what's after this. Make sure you answer those two questions. Then mixtures, what do they contain? One or more compounds. Now, this is not my favorite graphic. I would imagine the picture on the left as having some of these gray molecules evenly dispersed throughout. That's what I would do for homogeneous. I don't like that it has just one thing in the middle. I'd like to see those evenly dispersed throughout that circle on the left. Then here's homogeneous mixtures, heterogeneous. So the video talks through it, and then you've got the text that follows to help you understand it better. And again, we've got some more questions, just making sure you understand it really well. And then as we have this in-class section. Next up, we have a connector theory.
We're going to begin this discussion talking about gases. Just to remind
Notice, only watch the first 6 minutes and 20 seconds. So some of these videos will say things like that. So there's something in this video that has a 1, 2, 3 steps. So make sure that you write that down. And again, you can also use that gear tool. And if you like something to play faster, you can always change your speed.
we learned about solids, liquids, and gases.
So it's just your call on that. Again, more in-class use. So you can see where this is coming up, and we're going to try to merge the ideas where you'll see the initial information one time, and then we're going to revisit it. We're going to layer on that first viewing that you have to make sure that you understand it well. So now we're talking about properties. I scroll on past. So see, here's the section all about properties. It's going to be talking about physical, chemical properties. Physical, chemical properties would fit in here. And there's going to be information in the text for these, as well as some examples for you to put in. A physical change. See, physical change. Chemical change. And then there's a little question there to make sure you answer. And again, in class illustrations, we'll talk about stuff. Then we have a little thing about the scientific method, which steps are cyclic. So you want to answer this question, but don't worry about what's inside the box right now. Hypothesis, make sure you understand what a hypothesis is. Make sure you know what is the difference in a law and a theory. Now this is actually here. Laws and theories. And you'll notice that's the end of this section. Well, why does this have this section right here? At the end of class, I'm going to have you have a little bit of time, and you can get into your groups, and you can choose not to get into a group if you want to just fill this out yourself. And this is like a review of what is important in the chapter. And this is a great thing to have on hand. I'm going to have you screenshot it and put in the Dropbox. And I'm not judging it for right or wrong, but I need you to have put something down for every section. And this is going to also be a way that you can come back and review in your own handwriting for quizzes or tests. You can review the most important information from the chapter. So I hope that helps, so that you understand how we'll be using TopHat, how we'll be using our notes, and how we're going to be pulling everything together to try to help the information stick. You may be wondering, how would I have time to do this as well as do homework? Well, in class, we are going to have some time to work at least part of the homework. So you aren't going to have that heavy burden of all the homework because we're reviewing that information together. And then you're going to have more time to look through all the chapters. Hope that helps.